It is June 12th, 2025, and the war on reality is accelerating. This is Inverted World Live. Hey everybody, welcome back to Inverted World Live, coming at you at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Shane Cashman. And on my drive over, I was thinking about Friday the 13th and all the crazy stories we've been talking about all week. The doom economy, nuclear fallout, human experimentation, and how war is a racket. And on that drive over here, I started seeing images of smoke plumes rising out of Tehran. And it looks like Israel is now starting a major conflict with Iran. And I want to give some context to that in terms of inverted world and all the things we know that our government and the military industrial complex, as well as the media industrial complex, will do, and the great lengths they will go to convince you why we should be at war. And I oppose that with all my heart. But before we get started, I'm joined by Brandon. What's up, sir?
What is going on, Shane, and all podcasters? Welcome.
What a night. What a night.
What a day.
What a day. My goodness. I was not expecting. I mean, we were, because we were kind of talking about it last night, but you see the images and it's still shocking. And it has been a crazy day. It started with watching that horrific plane crash and the like miracle of a sole survivor walking around, and all the other insane videos surrounding that one. And it's ending with images of fires and smoke plumes rising out of Iran. So, all week we've been talking about the doom economy and what our, military industrial complex has been doing and waging for a century at least. I think the doom economy is spinning out of control. And this war on reality now is something that I think people tuning into the show understand on a gut level. And it's that they're trying, by they, I mean the media, the elites, everyone has their different phrase, and everyone's got their different boogeyman. And I think it's a large network of really bad people around the world that are behind the scenes, behind this curtain of reality, kind of puppeteering this chaos and destruction. And, kind of peel it back a little bit, peel back that curtain and kind of look at some context. But when it comes to the war on reality, I think about how we need to remain extremely suspicious of all news, both domestic and foreign, because they're going to try to use your bias and try to get you to latch on to any news that might confirm any bias you might have about your so-called enemies, your political enemies, domestic and foreign. I was reminded of last year when we were on Timcast IRL on the night that a hospital was allegedly bombed in Gaza. And I remember thinking, and I think we discussed it as well, that this could also just be fake, right? Because part of the war on reality is to inundate everyone, especially with mass media and social media, with images, sensational images, horrifying images, to get you on board, because they don't want protests. They don't want an uprising. It's very easy for them when everyone's on board. But that has not been the case for a very long time. And we know the lengths they'll go to start wars, sustain wars, and I do hope we stay out of it. But I'm not so confident in that, but we'll see. I have seen that Trump said that Netanyahu's on his own, but we also haven't declared a war officially since, World War II. But we've been in war my entire life, and I was thinking about that on the way in. We've been at war, since my great-grandparents were alive. Thinking about my grandparents living through the 60s, raising kids in the 60s, all the assassinations, and before that, obviously World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, Iraq, all this stuff. It's just been, conflicts, but it's been nonstop war. And the news is like I call it the media industrial complex. They work in tandem with the military industrial complex. to sell this idea, to make you as bloodthirsty as they are. Because war is a racket, like we know Smedley Butler said when he wrote that. I believe that was maybe somewhere in the, I want to say in the 40s, could be a little earlier, during FDR for sure, after he blew the whistle on the business plot, which we've also talked about in terms of people, corporations doing a coup to take over a country. But what happened after the mass destabilization of a nation, our nation, FDR, after the business plot allegedly failed, which was, for those who haven't heard that episode, a bunch of corporations like JP Morgan secretly wanted to throw a coup to overthrow FDR so the corporations could be in control. Actually, they're going to install Smedley Butler, who was a war hero, who had spent his time in many wars, some of which alongside Teddy Roosevelt, a very decorated soldier, 2 Purple Hearts. And he was like, I'm not having it. Blew that whistle. Nothing ever came of it, allegedly. But I think behind the scenes, you got something?
I was just going to say what up to all of our guys coming over from Timcast. Welcome. Big thanks to Kellen and the guys over there.
I thought you were going to say something fell out of the sky. Something horrific. I saw you emotioning. I'm like, oh, geez.
It's the last thing.
But, my theory is with that I think they actually succeeded, and the corporation succeeded and made a lot of money off that war. A lot of money off that war. DuPont was a part of that business plot, allegedly. And they're the company who, among a lot of other terrible things that they've done, they also, not that this is so terrible because you do need gunpowder, but they supplied the gunpowder for every American war. But even go back, I was thinking about Trump and this campaign of no wars, which, I'm all for no wars. And that was part of his campaign. And I love that. But it does remind me of Woodrow Wilson, who was one of the worst presidents in this country's history. And when he was running for his second term, the poster, the slogan, it said, he kept us out of war. And what did he do right after he got inaugurated for the second time? He went to war, World War I. And they made a lot of money. So there's that, right? There's FDR. There's the business plot. There's these corporations working behind the scenes, I think in tandem with the military-industrial complex, and then add that to the media-industrial complex. And this is a giant war machine. And clearly they've been in power for a long time. I don't personally think Trump wants it. I hope he doesn't. But I do know that there's a large network of evil, bloodthirsty people in our government. I can only imagine that at this very moment, Lindsey Graham and Nikki Haley are doing some blood ritual and just so thrilled. It's like the image of Dr. Strangelove when he's riding the bomb down. That's how giddy they are. And I feel like in some regard, they're getting what they wanted, but I hope not fully. But, we've been talking about this whole thing this week and last week. We brought up these situations like Operation Northwoods, which I'll just briefly go over as we did a bit the other day. But just to show you the lengths that people will go in our government to create war and these illusions they create to get us all scared, to be on board with war. So that was a false flag situation. The Joint Chiefs of Staff went to Kennedy and said, hey, we're going to do these false flags. We're going to kill and harm American people with mass shootings, bombs, hijacking planes, and blame it on Cuba. Didn't happen. They were Lemnitzer, the general in charge of that, who showed Kennedy that idea, was fired, and then got a job at NATO, running, I think, like the supreme leader of NATO is what his title was. And those of you who've been listening will know that NATO is also blamed. There are theories out there for causing a lot of false flags in Italy during the years of lead. That was decades of false flags against political enemies to sustain chaos and war and maintain power. So as I was driving over, I was like, I got to write down some notes so I don't forget stuff, because I was like totally into thinking Friday the 13th, which we will get to. And it is actually, I forget, it was Brandon or Kellen who reminded me, it's actually Friday the 13th right now in Iran.
It is.
Which is insane. But like, I can't stress enough how that war on reality and everything they're going to start selling us have to be so suspicious, skeptical of everything, no matter how you feel one way or the other. They are the clickbait, the sensationalism. It's going to come after you, like in hyperdrive. We're going to be, and you can only imagine the people on Twitter, wherever you get, Facebook, which I haven't been on that wasteland in quite some time since they banned me. But I was even thinking about this in a smaller way just this week in terms of the lengths they'll go to create chaos with like paid agitators at protests. We know that's a thing. We know bricks just show up sometimes. And I'm not saying they're all fake protesters. I'm saying all it takes is a few paid people, fake people, undercover people to kind of light that match, and then other people join in. And it's like that's like a miniature false flag, right? Because it starts something, it starts the chaos to then be used in the news to become the illusion of truth. So this war on reality has been going on, in my opinion, since the fall of man, but it's accelerated in the past few decades, clearly. You can go back to Wilson, but clearly before that. But with the advent of all this technology and the things we've been talking about in terms of AI, we don't know what we're going to be seeing. Hopefully it all just dies down and goes away. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think I'm seeing reports that Netanyahu is saying it's going to be a days-long campaign. I'm seeing other reports. And again, even these reports could be fake tomorrow. That's the thing. But another report is saying Intel is suggesting all of Iran's general staff, including the head of the military, were eliminated in tonight's strikes by Israel. So, all that is then reminding me of like what comes next and how we can contextualize that in history. Going back to another war, Gulf of Tonkin, happened to talk about it last night. And Jim Morrison, his father, happened to be one of the people in the chain of command of the Gulf of Tonkin, which is, they misinterpreted an attack, which got us into the Vietnam War. That's how bloodthirsty they are. And then, so there's the theater and the illusion and that war in reality to sensationalize us into supporting war. And then there's the illusion and the media industrial complex creating this illusion of truth to sustain the war and also do things covertly. And so one of the other things I was thinking about in terms of that illusion is, just recently when they released the JFK files, there wasn't like new stuff, but there were different angles on things we already knew about, like Operation Mongoose, which is a lot of covert operations by the CIA into Cuba. And just an alarming thing that they do and how they do it in the shadows, to destroy entire nations. The CIA, and it's almost, they're nonchalant talking about it. I don't even know why they write this stuff down, to be honest with you. So maybe even be skeptical of why they're writing it down. But one of those new files in the JFK papers was about, it was memos in the CIA talking about how they could destroy entire crops with biowarfare. And it would be used in a way that it would kill everything, but they could blame it, the Cubans, they thought, would blame it on like a natural disaster. So, I just want to keep all of that in mind as we are like running off the cliff of reality, thinking of war being a racket. And what Smedley meant by war is a racket is that even though he's a decorated soldier and did quite well as a soldier, he realized at the end of his time as a soldier, a lot of these wars were just to help the corporations. So I don't think he's that wrong, I really don't. And I imagine there will be a lot of that type of talk as people try to get us closer into joining Israel in this war that we should not join. And I was just seeing, I had another clip up here of the CIA doing weird stuff. This one was, I didn't have time to send this to Brandon, so my apologies. How the CIA poisoned Cuban livestock 2 years after Richard Nixon announced, by the way, this is from CIA.gov, a trusted news source. 2 years after Richard Nixon announced amid great publicity that Washington was renouncing the use of biological and chemical warfare, the Central Intelligence Agency provided anti-Castro terrorists with a swine fever virus that forced the killing of 500,000 Cuban pigs. There you go, on the screen. Thank you. The latest account of the CIA's criminal activity was revealed in part by a counter-revolutionary Cuban exile disgruntled by the government's investigation of terrorist activities carried out by his group in Florida. Reporters Drew Featherston and John Cummings, who broke the story in Newsday, a Long Island, New York newspaper, also cited testimony by the American intelligence agent who gave the virus to the Cuban exiles. I just want to pause right there real quick and also remind everyone, and maybe you can find this too, Brandon. I didn't have this pulled up. Just like this week or last week, it was very recently, I believe we caught a Chinese national with bioagents. Viruses. Might not have been Chinese. I could be getting that part wrong. If the recent one wasn't a Chinese national, that did happen with the Chinese national about a year or two ago. And it was something Kash Patel actually brought up in his Joe Rogan interview, which kind of went underreported. But you see these things happening. And I rag on our military industrial complex, but clearly this is a worldwide situation. They're all doing it to each other. So according to this agent, the operation began early in 1971 at Fort Gulick, an army base in the Panama Canal Zone, where the CIA operates a paramilitary training center for career personnel and mercenaries. So you guys can look up that article if you're interested. And that's just one of many of these crazy things they do to maintain war and to do war. And this kind of stuff, like we've talked about the past week, has been done to us as well. We talked about Operation Sea Spray with biowarfare over San Francisco because they just wanted to test how it works, how they could solve biological warfare on the people. So why not test on ourselves? So these are the things that go running through my mind as I see us running towards another war, as we've been in sustained war forever, although we refuse to call it war. And my theory on that, of the not declaring war officially thing in this country, is I think declaring it actually causes the people, it makes them actually confront the reality of that war. And by kind of doing it like these soft launches, it's like, it's okay, so it's more of a conflict. But it's not. We've lost so many people to these wars, so many people. Just think about the people of Vietnam with the Agent Orange and what that did to generations. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting stuff. And that kind of goes in tandem with what we were doing by making soldiers watch atom bombs blow up just in the distance and
then walk toward them
and then walk toward
during
them.
the fallout. Yeah.
Man, come on. But yeah, I mean, the other thing I was thinking about FDR in terms of the media and illusions and the things they do. This is somewhere on FDR's website, his official website. They do get into the way that the media, the administration would hunt down media that dared report on FDR's legs not working. So that hasn't stopped either. This war on people actually trying to report and look, I don't have a lot of good things to say about journalists. I think 99% of them are trash. And you should be skeptical of everyone who thinks they know anything, including myself. I think I've done my job right if you are skeptical of things I say. I think that is necessary, especially as we are careening towards this insanity. Because everyone's going to try to be they're going to try to scare you into submission, which is the pattern, right? And, in thinking of the destabilization of the country during the Great Depression and how it took war to boost that economy, we are a destabilized nation. I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like this nation, people think we've come back after the lockdowns. I certainly don't think that. I think we're pretending like we've come back. But we destabilize not just this country, we destabilize the entire world. And so the pattern is there, right? If we're looking at a destabilized country and how war tends to follow. And just last night, we were talking about the counterculture. Beach Boys, Laurel Canyon, and the CIA operations there. And that popped into my head again today because the anti-war movement started with more or less a lot of clean-cut, guys, not hippies. And the argument in books like Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon is that the CIA hijacked the counterculture to discredit the anti-war movement. So that's just another thing to look out for. Because I think the CIA, despite who's in office, is always at work trying to deceive you. Deception is a constant, especially as we are racing towards these major conflicts. And so, the idea, the theory is that by hijacking the counterculture and the anti-war movement, we as in the CIA, those lovely people, were able to create this bad reputation of the long-haired hippie love, stuff, and dose them on acid. And mind you, all that acid was made by our government when we as in the government, asked Eli Lilly to make all the LSD. All of it. That's where it came from. So, we know what happened with a lot of that LSD. Human experimentation. A lot of crazy stuff. The whole MK Ultra movement was literally started by a Jewish man in Brooklyn and a Nazi that we hired. And then a lot of the crazy experiments started out here, in like the DC, Virginia area, and obviously spread around the entire country out west, where it would eventually, find its way to Charles Manson and, a lot of other people who were in the MK Ultra program, allegedly, like the Unabomber. Insane stuff. So I'm just checking my notes, see if I've missed anything. Do you have any thoughts? Any updates?
I mean, aside from what we had pulled up for what we planned for the show, I'm kind of just watching a bunch of stuff unfold on X here, and just kind of scrolling through it, just looking at current stuff. And I mean, all I see is stuff blown up.
Yeah. And remember, like, we don't know, all the things we're seeing might not even be real. I mean, it looks like that footage we're talking about of Tehran in smoke is real. But I imagine there will be things coming out soon that could be from previous conflicts or AI. So definitely be watching for that.
As far as we're being told, they're striking their nuclear facilities and their long-range missile capabilities right now. Who knows how much collateral damage is in the middle of that. But my concern with this entire thing is the cost of American lives. And I know that we've got, I forget where, if it's Baghdad or somewhere around there, but I know we do have troops exfilling from one of these points. And my concern is if, like me and Kellen were talking about this earlier, what if someone stages an attack on them and blames the other, no matter what, it's not looking like we won't be drug into this at some point. But you also have Trump with the proverbial "you're on your own" situation.
Yeah.
So
I hope it stays like that. But this is why I talk about false flags. This is why I actually lost lots of friends for defending Alex Jones for Sandy Hook, because they're like, how could you be so callous? How could you question anything? And look, it's disgusting to have to think that children were a part of a false flag. And the other thing that I have to always repeat is that just because it's called a false flag doesn't mean innocent people didn't die. It doesn't mean it's the whole thing is fake. It means that the things that made it happen might not be what we were told, right?
There's another interesting point too in coming out of chat that I'm reading. These guys are making a lot of sense here. Think about with AI now too. Yep. How much of this war propaganda and stuff are we going to start seeing that's going to be AI generated? How long is it going to be before someone AI generates a video of a soldier being blown up?
Yep.
And everybody loses their minds because they think that that's real.
Yep.
And there's not enough questioning on it. So it's
walking
into very tricky waters.
And I could be wrong here because I did not prepare too much to talk about this, but I believe that it was a Zimmerman telegram that was part of why we went into World War I with Wilson. And that's just an intercepted telegram, right? I think it was, I want to say Germany, trying to talk to Mexico, being like, hey, let's bro down here and just attack. And it was also U-boats as well, I believe. But just think of a telegram, right? Now we can see how AI has just become nearly indistinguishable. I mean, I like to think I still have a good idea of distinguishing it from reality, but
not that
it's becoming
picture
hard.
From yesterday, man. that Loch Ness monster picture was terrible. No,
that was really bad. Yeah, that was really bad. And it's also war is a distraction, and I'm thinking, what are they distracting us from? There's a lot of answers we have not been getting from this administration in terms of some of the most nefarious crimes that have happened in recent history, like the Epstein stuff, and just war. It's unfortunate how good it is for so many corporations and people in power. And just keep in mind, Eisenhower wasn't an angel at all. And so I reference him a lot, and I don't want people to think oh, he's an Eisenhower fan, as I'm not, but I'm a fan of that speech because I do think there's truth to it. And I am shocked at the proximity of him giving that speech about the military industrial complex on his last day in office from the Oval Office right before JFK is inaugurated, and then JFK is up against that, right? And JFK is said to, the rumors say that he said he wanted to shatter the CIA and scatter into the wind, right? Which is obviously a part of the military-industrial complex, and they've been waging insane wars covertly around the world forever. And all these places are kind of, they're compromised. Like the FBI being compromised from the beginning with Hoover and everything going on with him being blackmailed by the mob for cross-dressing in a New York City hotel with his gay lover.
Giggity.
Yep. And so, and then you might hear the blackmail and immediately think right back to who we were just talking about, Epstein. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of power, a lot of money at play here. And I don't know. I'm praying for the best, but it just seems like this has been inevitable, unfortunately, because it's just human nature. And like I was saying, with that pattern of destabilization, I feel like something, there's going to be a lot of things to be happening next, clearly. I hope it doesn't include us going to war, but I just want to stress everyone keeping an eye out on that stuff, especially with what we're saying, you guys in the chat saying about AI, because not just will the AI has become really good and it's going to trick a lot of people, but think of all those companies now that are in this administration, like literally. We talked about in episode 50, Project Stargate, all the AI companies, the tech bros, Silicon Valley, the technocracy, like that is the government. And, I half joking tweeted yesterday that the fake alien invasion is going to be great for Palantir, Oracle, SpaceX, all those places, OpenAI, because, we're thinking about JP Morgan and DuPont. Those are the old monopolies that ran the country. But these are the new ones, Meta and SpaceX and OpenAI and all that stuff. And they are quite literally fabricating reality. Like literally the AI they are making is creating this like extra dimension that will be used against us.
Well, we had a caller last night who brought this video to our attention, and I think this is the perfect time to play it.
Yep.
So let's bring
a little
this
levity.
Up. Yeah, this is POTUS, Donald Trump, talking about how he wants to reinforce the border with velociraptors and pterodactyls. Let's listen in.
Absolute worst group of people we've got in our country, and it's not even close. I think we'd all be better off with them gone. But as I was saying, my administration and I have been taking careful note of the work of Colossal Labs, the biotech company that resurrected the dire wolf. If they can bring back wolves, they can bring back dinosaurs. Terrible lizard. That's what dinosaur means if you break it down.
That's amazing.
But picture this, folks. Velociraptor.
That's amazing.
Mounted Border Patrol agents. They'll rip your head clear off. Pterodactyls patrolling the skies, velociraptors on the ground, to prevent the immigration apocalypse we may have to counter with a dino-apocalypse, folks. It's true.
Dino-apocalypse. You heard it here.
I wouldn't put it past him. You think that's fake? I think that's fake.
I think it's I would love to believe that it's absolutely fake. I mean, there's even a disclaimer at the end of the video that's like, this is obviously a deep fake, but it's just like, was it not hard for you to just like be like, man, this looks really real?
I thought there was logic there. They talked about Colossal Sciences. That is the company that did it. Maybe to make it more realistic, they could have said, like, can we fast track the cloning of mammoths so our super soldiers could ride them along the border? Actually, I guess that I didn't even think about going to this today, but the Anna Paulina clip about superhumans, that might fit well with this new era of war plus AI that we are getting into. So this is Anna Paulina Luna talking about the age of artificial intelligence. And I haven't looked at this in a few days, but she's talking about creating superhumans that use AI.
We just want to jump in at the beginning here?
I think, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you all for being here today. One of the biggest concerns I have with this whole discussion on AI is a failure to admit, first and foremost, that it does appear that in the next 10 years that...
So today's the day.
Oh, man.
They got me.
They got you. This is a Lockheed Martin grill for those watching. This is actually a weapon of mass destruction.
No life
And we're
with
back.
AI will be forever changing. With that being said, there are a few differences that I think most people acknowledge in that AI lacks a few things, one being a soul, also empathy. And we are not gods or God. And so I think that we're playing a dangerous game, especially moving into a future that's simply unknown right now,
They also lack a tax ID number, but we'll get to that later.
So
especially
far.
with, if we do not essentially develop the first AI super weapon, essentially that's what this is, whoever does will essentially control the world. And I think that that's a very serious topic that needs to be discussed right now. But specifically to transhumanism and coupling of AI with humanity, what regulatory frameworks can be established to ensure AI-driven transhumanist technologies like brain-computer interfaces prioritize human safety and consent? I'm opening this up to everyone on the panel. I have a few questions, so I'd like to get through this, so just please limit your responses.
Treated.
Mr. B, if you want to go first, or down there, either or.
Is that? Are you serious?
Wait a minute.
Did
What?
she just? Is that his name?
Hang on. We're going back. That was
Down there, either or.
no.
Or down there. Mr. B, if you want.
No.
Mr. B, if you want.
Oh my goodness.
I can't see. I'm trying to look at the name tags here. They're kind of blurred
It
because
might
of the
cut.
angle,
It
but
might cut to him like head on. Of
Wanna
course,
go first,
like
or down
I
there?
need it to
either
now.
or.
I'll just briefly say, Congresswoman, that there's been a lot of work done on AI governance by multiple bodies and entities. I just want to cite something that actually came from the Biden administration on this, about the applicability of so many existing laws and regulations to AI. And there were
covered.
leading regulators for 4 large agencies said before leaving office that basically we have the ability to enforce the respective laws and regulations to promote responsible innovation and automated systems, and that basically AI does not get an exemption from civil rights laws, from consumer protections, unfair and deceptive practices, fraud, so on and so forth. So we have a lot of policies that do regulate many of the fears you're raising.
Is there the possibility of regulation, though, that exists that would enable transhumanist enhancements that exacerbate social inequalities or basically financial inequalities, creating an elite class of enhanced individuals? I bring that up because we're talking about low-level jobs potentially being removed from the workforce, people that have and can afford the ability of, for example, implementing or implanting chips, given access to unknown amounts of knowledge, and essentially creating the first superhuman. This is a real concern. I know it might come across as funny to other people, but I am genuinely concerned about this. From a bipartisan perspective here, we're talking about humanity versus machine. Hopefully, in a flowery world, we would have it set up to where it could improve society for the best. But I'm also in politics, and I have a very, unfortunately, sometimes negative perspective on the world because I've seen the worst of humanity in this job.
So science fiction speaks of this a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people who think about this notion of haves and have-nots and how technology will exacerbate that. And that's going to depend on how it's available and how much money it costs and who can get it. Nina Farahay writes a lot about AI and brain interfaces and what we can do to protect humanity in that world. So I do recommend talking to her. She's the smartest person I know on that particular question.
Okay. Also, what role can AI itself play in monitoring and mitigating risk?
Now, he went to science fiction instantly. One of my favorite movie quotes from the Marvel Universe is science fiction, precursor to science fact. Because it's really just,
True.
we just haven't seen it yet, right?
Yep.
We haven't seen it. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It doesn't mean that it can't become tangible reality.
Yep.
And we are seeing more and more signs now that we are moving closer to this kind of a reality, and that these things are becoming more possible. Even though I know I never thought I'd see some of this stuff in my lifetime. So my fears are generally in the same ballpark as hers.
Yeah, mine too. Like a lot of the 80s sci-fi movies are kind of coming to fruition. And if you think that's silly, I mean, the people building these things, like Elon, have also referenced those movies, such as Terminator. And they say, kind of like how she's saying there could be a flowery reality, but that reality is one in which humans have ethics, and that's not this reality.
But that's the reality they'll try to sell you, is it not?
Exactly. It'll be all short-term benefits,
Slide it under the rug.
and then it will become dystopian, which we're already there. I mean, for
Kinda,
a lot of reasons. But like in terms of the war and what might be going on with us and Iran and Israel, you can only imagine how these companies are going to gain so much knowledge and power through war, because war is like an experiment for a lot of these companies. And, look at throughout the ages how war has changed and the things we develop, all the technology. A lot of that stuff doesn't just stay at war. Everyone goes home and tries to rebuild it and, sell it to lower levels of power. And, just in terms of like certain things that have been outlawed as like war crimes at war, like certain chemical agents are used in certain police forces at crowd control. It's going to turn into a world where these AI companies, which are already at war, honestly, I should say that, like we said on episode 50 with Palantir, they're behind a lot of the Lavender AI death machine that Israel's using in Gaza, which gives all of their authority of killing to the AI, and it has a 10% error rate. It's using a lot of this facial recognition and database analysis combing to see who is, the bad guy, according to the IDF in Israel. And then connect that to how the UK has that new experiment going on with the homicide detection unit, which hasn't actually been implemented yet, but they're experimenting. I'm sure they won't stop. But like, we're also on the edge of like, so we just gave $500 billion. This administration got $500 billion to these AI companies. Can you imagine how well they'll do during war, as we're talking about things like the Golden Dome, which is like what Israel has, but it'd be our version. Of course, it would be gold. We have Anduril, which is another Palantir-funded military company that's headed by Palmer Luckey, who's from Meta, but was fired, and now him and Meta are working together. And you guys might remember that Facebook Meta was also funded by Peter Thiel with Palantir stuff. So like these companies are going to learn so much. Like Palmer Luckey talks about, he's making killer robots, and there's a whole debate there on the ethics. Some people I know who've been to war, who hate war, still think like the idea of making murder autonomous will just make war even easier to sell, and it'll just never go away, right? Like Eric Prince, I'm spacing on what company he's with, but he's part of this circle of people. He gave us a talk recently about what we've been learning at war now with AI, drones, and all that stuff, and how facial recognition.
Blackwater.
Yes, thank you. Facial recognition is being used to it's personalized death drones that can catch your face, and we might have seen these videos, whether they're real or not. It's hard to tell, but they're talking about it. The idea is there, and it goes back to the idea of the science fiction, before it comes science fact. And if these people are brainstorming it, it will become a reality. And so when I talk about it going to war and the experiments of this new technology, like we were talking about the Manhattan Project, Alex Karp, who is the head of Palantir, who I think is a psychopath, who was recently rebranded to being Trump because his buddy Thiel is a Trump guy.
Is that the crazy hair guy?
Crazy hair guy.
Yeah.
He considers, and I think rightfully so, he considers the Manhattan Project the first Silicon Valley. Those are the first tech bros. And so he sees Palantir as a war machine. It's not just this flowery data analytics machine, database that helps, with the effortlessness of switching, of sending one data to another agency. He sees it, he calls it the kill chain. So what I was going to say is, when these people go to war with their technology at a full scale, which they are already there, but can you imagine if we actually enter this war? They'll come back eventually, and it will just help grow out the surveillance state that they've already been building since the Patriot Act. I mean, before, because you can get into COINTELPRO and all the wiretappings that they've been doing for decades. But it'll get bigger, and it'll get crazier, more dystopian with AI. That is what I don't like at all. So as they go there and they learn this stuff, one can only imagine what they'll come back with and turn it on us, which has been the other pattern of war. The things they do there, they bring back here, like the biowarfare at Operation Sea Spray and any number of things we can get into, the Unit 731 in Japan, all that stuff. They bring it back and they use it on us. So
We do have the JD Vance Palantir thing.
Oh yeah.
If you want to dip into that.
Do we have callers or anything?
We do have Tina hanging out.
Why don't we go Tina, and we'll come back to the Vance thing.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's see if she connects here. It's taking a second. Tina, you're on Inverted World Live. What's up?
Tina, are you there?
Oh, she's got to unmute.
Tina, you are muted. If you can hear us, please unmute.
Ground control to Tina. Okay. We will come back to Tina.
Yeah.
And I guess we will go to my thing, which is your thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where I'm trying to find, because this is like a 9-minute video, so I'm not trying to get too deep into it, but
yeah, let's just press play. Did Serge just text you?
me, no.
Oh, Serge said he might have accidentally ended our stream.
Really?
I don't know if anyone's still out there. Are you there?
I'm looking at I am looking at a Rumble stream saying that it's trying to reconnect.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Hang on, let me get to the front of this.
Yeah, take your time. I would say some things now about Vance, but I want to make sure our friends are here.
I think Serge did us dirty.
Oh man.
Hang on, let me see if I can. I might need to try to get this back up.
Let me see. I'm gonna check it out too. Well, I think we're still on. I think we're still on YouTube. Are you guys here?
Yeah,
Can
no,
you see us?
YouTube. I think we should be fine.
Okay. Well, I'll still talk then, since our friends are still here on YouTube.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna need a second here.
So, like, I really liked Vance. I thought he was very impressive, and I thought he's a smart guy. I read his book, and it's very interesting. But I always have my reservations because his connections to Teal. And, like, I really genuinely think Teal is not a good person. I think he is a very, very evil person. And he's building things that are not good. They're anti-human. And Teal is his mentor. And if when we get back to it, there's a part of this clip we were looking at where Vance claims to not know how Palantir works, which I find insane. To not know that how your mentor's business and how he started his entire fortune works at all, and what it does. And something I've been saying a lot is how, and we just said it before the clip actually, is they're going to try to sell you on the short-term benefits of it, how it's going to be used against immigration, which I want to end immigration. I want mass deportations, but they're going to say, it's going to help with that. It's going to help with crime. It never stops there. And it's the same argument people made during the Patriot Act in the early 2000s when they said, well, if you do nothing wrong, you should have anything to worry about. But we know that they constantly change the definition of wrong. We don't know what was wrong, what was right yesterday could be wrong tomorrow. And just because these guys are in office now doesn't mean then those definitions are going to change, but that apparatus that they've created with things like Palantir will be then used against the new people who are allegedly wrong. And the other thing that drives me insane is that Serge just texted me again. I'm sorry, guys. I think he feels bad.
He should. I'm gonna so yell at him tomorrow for this because
I'm gonna make him. He's gonna come on the show. I'm gonna make him come on right now.
This is the first catastrophe I've had to deal with since I got here, and if Alex isn't asleep right now, I'm sure she's laughing and then probably also picking up her phone to text me right now and make sure I'm not hyperventilating. But I'm going to just roll a part due. Right.
I'm looking at the chat too and just seeing you guys are still there chilling out on YouTube and like someone saying, if you have nothing to hide. Right. You have nothing to hide. But look, this is the issue. They're going to build this apparatus to make the surveillance state inescapable. And the way that even someone like Vance is selling it, which I find to be disingenuous, unfortunately, is that it's the same argument I heard people make about the vaccine. It's safe and effective. I don't like it. Don't tell me that. We're back. We're back on Rumble?
We're back on Rumble.
Hi, everybody. Serge killed the stream by accident.
Oh, there's no one on Rumble to hear it. Well, there's one guy now. Hey.
That's right. Hey, what's up? We're back. Sorry about that, everybody. Serge decided to go to war against Inverted World tonight. It's not just Iran and Israel.
We have been attacked.
It's IWL and IRL.
Serge dossed us.
I'm going to shut down IRL tomorrow.
So
Y'all better watch out. I don't know how to do anything because I'm a caveman, but
my God.
I'm going to hit up Peter Thiel. But like that, it's a safe and effective argument. It's the same thing. And that he's kind of using us. I find it condescending, honestly. And again, I think he's a smart guy, clearly. I think Thiel's a smart guy. All the tech people, all those vampires are smart, clearly. But I find it really condescending that he pretends to not know what it is. This guy's, Vance's first job after college, when he met Thiel at Yale, after Thiel gave a speech, Vance's first job was for the venture capitalist firm Mithril, which is also Thiel's. Like, you can't tell me you work in that world for years and then make millions and millions of dollars when he's donating to you for your political career, that you don't understand these things. And the other thing, you know, just to get, if I want to get a little schizo with it and talk and bring it back to how we started the show about the illusions of truth, the war on reality, all that stuff, I just find it worth noting that the guy who pretends to be Appalachian, which, you know, he says he is, and I read his book, although he's changed his name a lot, and that's weird. It happens, I guess. He chooses like the Hillbilly podcast to go on. And I love Theo Von. Love him. It's like no shade at Theo.
Brother.
But it's just funny to me that they've chosen this format to try to talk to the people, because they know now, and they're rightfully so, that these podcast formats are the way to talk to the most people. That's why Trump succeeded for a lot of reasons. But look at how the Kamala situation just totally failed, and they had to pay to call her daddy, or I think it was call her daddy, like all this money to make this fake studio. And then Kamala refused to do the Rogan podcast unless he flew out there. But Trump did the Rogan podcast. That was a huge, huge podcast. It was a great one. That's where we got my favorite line about Trump wanting to be a whale psychiatrist. I'm still holding out on the whale psychiatry.
Whale psychiatrist.
Yeah, because there was like reports on, I think it was SpaceX, one of Elon's companies, causing like distress to the whale population with something they were doing out there in the ocean. And Trump was saying like, oh, I'll be a whale psychiatrist to get to the bottom of it. I hope that's next, because I think whale psychiatry sounds great. Watch them use that against us next. So sorry for those who were missing out. We were just listening to Theo and Vance talk about Palantir and stuff. And just to recap, we were talking about the war that seems to be escalating between Israel and Iran, and the context in American history about the theater, actual theater, like of war, the illusions, the war on reality, how they're going to try to sell it to us, how they're going to try to, sensationalize this entire thing to make a lot of people go on board, talk about how the counterculture, the anti-war movement was hijacked in the 60s, and just putting that in context with what's going to go on now with the proliferation of AI, and how these tech companies are really going to learn and grow and become even more dystopian as war is happening, possibly with us involved, which I really, really hope not. But we're good to be back. Should we try a caller again? Is she still around?
Tina pieced out.
Okay, poor Tina.
So we're clear right now. We can keep rolling.
I'm just seeing what Serge is saying. I should just read all his texts out loud.
Yeah, which if you're looking for the call-in link, they should be pinned in chat. I repinned it in the new Rumble one. The episode is now part due. If you have any way of yelling at Serge or shaking a fist, however it be, I would love it if you all would do that right now.
Spam the chat. Spam.
Just let him have it.
Yeah, they're probably members only. No, they're over now.
I think he was ending members only.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
instead
what it was.
of ending them, he ended us.
All right. Well, I'm hijacking IRL tomorrow. You heard it here first. But let's go then to the Annie Jacobson thing, because we'll segue into the aliens and stuff, because I think this is all connected. We started this week talking about the Pentagon disinformation campaign about openly lying. Well, not openly. Now we know they were lying about UFO crashes, about biologics, about communications with extraterrestrials. And that's not to say everything we've ever heard about was a lie from the Pentagon. That's not the case. But it is the case that, according to these reports and some of these statements that have come out, they've created a lot of these lies as covers for companies like Lockheed Martin and special military tech. That was actually the case, and they thought it would be better to give us aliens to keep Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, who knows, all these people safe. So that alien then story, that false alien story, connects to this. I wanted to pull up because I mention it quite a bit, and it's a long clip, so we'll see how much we listen to. But tying this all together, or trying to.
Did you give me this?
Was it the Annie Jacobson one?
Yeah.
If not, you can go on YouTube and see Annie Jacobson, Joe Rogan, Alien Children. Maybe will help. We'll bring it up. But so to tie it all together is like all these lies happen. We see the Pentagon now getting caught in lies with the UFO story.
Oh, is this the surgically altered?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I got that.
So like this is during the Cold War, according to her source, that told her that our government was surgically altering disabled children to look like aliens. Let's listen. We'll see how far we get.
Joe Rogan Experience.
See, I don't have a desired outcome. I mean, I would love it if aliens were real.
Okay.
But when someone starts talking about disinformation and propaganda campaigns, but they want you to believe them.
Right.
But don't listen. I'm here telling you the truth. I'm here telling you the truth.
I'm not saying I'm telling.
God damn it,
All
you got
these
me
ads
again. See,
waiting.
Serge has me just thrown off now.
Yep. Sir, I'm just gonna blame Serge.
Damn you, Serge.
Serge is the new gremlin.
Anything that happens tonight, I am blaming Serge. Unbelievable.
Serge. It's all good. It's still love. It's all good. I feel bad for you guys who all of a sudden the thing got cut out.
All right, we're back.
I was
No,
like,
not you.
Joe, let's wait
For
till
sure not
hour
you.
3 because it's too explosive. People have such a horse in the race.
Yeah.
Already.
With aliens, you think?
Well, I mean, maybe you are neutral. I don't know. I know I'm neutral. You know.
Yeah, I will listen. I absolutely want aliens to be real.
I'm pro-alien.
Wouldn't it be interesting?
I'm not neutral, but
Okay.
I am neutral in my perceptions. And when I look at things, I go, I don't know about that.
Me too.
I want to see a picture. Like, what do these guys look like? I mean, what did they do to them? Did he describe what kind of surgical alterations?
I stayed with the source. I mean, after the book published, I would go and visit him. We'd sit in a Chinese restaurant and eat and talk.
Can you pause
and
really
I
quick?
would try to get a
I just want to do
droplet of
another
information out of him.
another comment for Serge. I'm just checking in on YouTube. Symbiote 5 said we suffered a power surge.
Wow.
Incredible.
100% saw what you did there. That was
Okay.
awesome.
All right, back to Annie Jacobson. Oh, and I just want to say really quick, Annie Jacobson is a pretty good writer, and she wrote a really great book on Operation Paperclip that I recommend. That talks about a lot of their the V2 rocket stuff, which is fascinating, and also put out a book recently about nuclear war, which I was reading when it came out. Haven't finished it yet, but a lot of the ideas I've been thinking about lately with the doom economy and nuclear war were sparked by that book. So let's get back to it.
What was he doing?
Oh my God.
Avoiding it?
He avoided it. I mean, look, here's another thing. When the book came out, his wife of 65 years knew it was him. Okay? And I went out to Las Vegas and sat there in a room with the source and his wife. And she said, "Tell me this isn't true. Tell me you made this all up," to her husband. And he said, "It's the truth." I mean, that's a triangular version of getting at the truth. But again, to reiterate, I believe he believes what he told me was the truth. That was the truth he was told.
I think there's certain agents that think it's fun to fuck with reporters and journalists and make things up. I really do. And I think especially when
agree.
they're talking about secret information that they were sworn to protect. And then all of a sudden they want to talk to someone that they don't even know on the sneak tip. Let's meet at a diner. I'm going to tell you everything.
That's not how we met.
Well, I mean,
Right.
however you met.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Well, we
saying?
met because I was interviewing nuclear weapons engineers who were setting off nuclear bombs in Area 51, in the Nevada test site, Area 12, Area 23. And they all said to me, "You've got to talk to the top engineer of all this weaponry." And they gave me his name. And we talked for days and hours about nuclear weapons. And then, in one conversation, he began to cry and told me this story that I was like, what? What?
Why was he crying?
He was crying because he participated in our version of the human experiments. Because what the Russians do, we do. Look, I've written 5 books
wait,
about this.
We altered people to make them look like aliens?
According to him, we had a small program in 1951 where we wanted to see how the Russians did what they did, how they made human beings look like this.
So what they do? Take prisoners or something? Like what? Who do they alter?
He said they were handicapped children.
Oh, Jesus.
And he told me that he participated in this. So again, I mean, unless you have someone that lost their mind at age 90 and was willing to tell their wife of 65 years, I lost my mind.
So
I do want to say anything's
that
possible,
he
and that maybe all of a sudden he was just like activated, being like, just tell her anything, because maybe her sources are bad, you know, because it's a very fantastical idea to think. But again, to put that in context, think of the Unit 731 experiments and the stuff that the Soviets were doing earlier. So anything's possible.
Well, also, I mean, 90 years old. Is that what she just said?
Yeah.
Rapid onset dementia, maybe?
Yeah, could be.
I mean,
Could be.
it's also possible.
And also, I want to say, I find this fascinating, the whole thing, but I like looking at it from different angles. It's also possible that he was shown things that were fake, you know, as an experiment on him, or to put out misinformation, because that has happened, you know, where they're shown certain things and they think like, oh my goodness, I saw such and such, and they are studied to see how they react. So yeah, I don't know, but let's see what you guys think.
Participated in something that altered handicapped children. When you say handicapped, you mean like Down syndrome or something like that? And they made them look like aliens and then killed them? Like, what did they do with this?
This is where we get into drops of information coming out. But what I can say is he had a grandchild that was born that way. And the grandchild did not live long. The grandchild died. And it made him feel so guilty about what he had done that he felt compelled to confess, if you will. And I remember saying to him, why are you telling me this? Why don't you tell a priest? And he said, a priest would judge me, and I can tell you won't.
Why wouldn't you judge him?
I want to say one other thing really quick. Is
Well,
like,
I'm kind of judging
I guess
him right
that's
now.
why.
also, the whole thing could be fake. Like, even look at it from that angle, that she has no source. This person's made up.
No, I could see that being plausible too, as she's completely
Right.
bullshitting herself here.
And this is the first time I've watched this in a while, and her voice is compelling, but her voice is also like kind of like a hypnotist.
Well, it
And-
sounds rehearsed too.
Yeah.
It sounds
so,
very rehearsed.
You know, something to just keep in mind with all this stuff. You know, I want people to remain skeptical, but not lose the fact that we are in a really absurd, beautiful, magical, crazy world. But like, maybe this is totally real. She talked to this guy. Maybe he believes it. Maybe he was shown fake stuff. Maybe she's made up the whole thing. But on top of all that, like I keep saying, I don't put anything above the people in power to do weird experiments, because we know there's so many documented cases of people you can talk to who have survived and or died, or generations have been suffering through these experiments. But this is a crazy one. Let's see what else should I say. We don't have to go too much further.
Why I'm a born journalist, Joe, because I really try not to judge people. I mean, my new book, Surprise, Kill, Vanish, it's about assassins.
Slid that right in there perfectly.
Little ad.
Slide on in with the book.
She sounds like a hypnotist to me.
It's about people who work for the CIA who do what needs to be done on the ground in the name of national security. I don't judge them. This is why, what's really at issue here is morality, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can I tell you how I got the idea for this book?
we can stop
Sure,
there.
but let me,
Yeah.
before we
Oh,
go
let's
any
see what he says there. Let's just see
further,
what he says.
so
You want to
was
talk
he
about the
saying,
aliens?
Yeah. Was he saying that there have never been any encounters with alien spacecrafts?
He was totally neutral about aliens. He had nothing to do with aliens. He could have cared less. He didn't watch the X-Files.
And what was his
Yes.
take on Bob Lazar?
His take on Bob Lazar was that he probably saw something that the government had an extension of the program. I mean, he didn't know. That was speculative. We didn't talk about that. I mean, other than inference. He was very limited in the information that he would get out. But, I mean, I used 79 sources in that book that all went on the record in name. And he was the one anonymous source. Because, but like I said, he told me after he died that I could tell the whole story. And
Are you going to?
I might. I might come back.
Write another book?
Well, if you give me a break and back off of this subject, I might come back and tell
Okay, so
you
all that's
and your
very
audience.
interesting. All that's very interesting. Very interesting. I'm seeing, having seen this now for the first time in years, because that is like 6 years old, maybe
Yeah.
7 years old.
Yeah.
my BS detector's kind of going off.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of feeling that too.
Yeah. And then, all the stuff we've been talking about this week about Pentagon disinformation, it could be part of that, right? I mean, even though the Pentagon disinformation was using aliens, but like, I think it's multifaceted, and they create a bunch of cover stories.
I'll come back when I have my next book ready to prop.
Yeah, ka-ching.
And then I'll tell you what really happened. Maybe. Just back off right now because I don't have the answers that you're asking.
Well, for those who are watching, who are with us, we are a call-in show. If you guys have you want to call in, share a story, you've had an encounter with something you just can't explain, we would love to hear from you. Phone lines are open. The pin to call in is linked in the chats below, whether you're on Rumble or YouTube. We were off Rumble for just a little bit because our friend Serge accidentally ended that stream.
We're not friends anymore.
It's war. It's on. But we're back now, and thank you guys for still hanging around. But we'd love to hear from you if you have anything, or if you have any ideas on the stuff we've been talking about already. The war happening, the illusions, the war on reality, the whole CIA stuff that we've been talking about. It's just crazy that we were talking about a lot of this stuff in the past week or two, and it seems like it's coming to fruition now. And we'd love to hear from you. Or if you just disagree with all of this and you have another take, I'd love to hear that as well. People who are skeptical are always welcome to call in. I would love to hear like another perspective, honestly, all the time. So do we have anyone?
We do have a few if you want to jump in.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to bring in Dylan. Dylan, you're on Inverted World. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not a whole lot,
What's
man. How you
up?
doing?
Oh, pretty good. I was one that called you last week. I just thought I'd share another one of my stories since you didn't have any or many callers.
Sweet. Why don't you make him a man? You want to?
Oh, yeah.
We'll give you the man.
Serge has me so screwed up right now. Oh, my God.
Serge.
Sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Hey, man, but welcome back, and let us hear it.
Oh, you're good. You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. Well, this is just one of the quick little weird ones that I've had, and I guess there's a few things that kind of happened from it, but this happened, middle school, so I was probably like 12, 13, somewhere in there. Had a couple friends over, and we're upstairs in my room playing, Xbox or something, and go downstairs to get something to drink, come back upstairs, and they're just like gone. And that was kind of weird. And I'm like looking for them, and finally I heard them laughing. And I go into my room, and up top there's like an entrance to the attic, and they're all just like staring down at me. I'm just like, oh, I want to go up there. And nothing really was crazy up there. There was like kind of an old like fleur de lis, I don't know, wall hanging thing. And then other than that, it was just kind of a regular attic, except for like a small bed spring, which was a little strange, and I'd never been up there before. And so anyway, we go back down, and while we're on our way back down, we like broke the door to the attic. And ever since that day, like my closet door would kind of like open up or like try to open, it'd rumble and stuff, which obviously I think was just like the pressure difference between the attic and then like the second level. Except for one time, the door actually opened, and like the way the closet door was, like I had carpet in my room, so when you wanted to open the door, you'd have to slide it across the carpet, right?
Right.
It's like you had to put some force into it. And that thing freaking opened, and I was just laying there and looking at my door, and like kind of waited for a few seconds, and then just instantly, got the hell out of there.
Whoa.
And then a few other times where like my sister's TV, no matter what, for whatever reason, would just always be on. And so I'd go in there to turn it off. And on 3 separate instances, I'd turn it off and start to walk away, and then it would flip back on. And that happened in front of 2 different people.
When was this happening? What year?
Oh, this would have been, let's see, like 2008 or so. I'd have been 12, 13, something like that.
It's like a newer TV. I was trying to picture the TV. It was one of those newer TVs then, like a flat screen.
It was an older one.
Oh, the older one, yeah.
Kind of like a smaller box TV, you
Okay.
know.
So
Had like a little
harder to
DVD
turn on.
player
Yeah.
in it.
Harder to turn on with the older box of ones. What do you think it was? Do you think you summoned something by messing around the attic?
You know, I don't know. I will tell you that that small stuff like that would kind of happen here and there, and like the way my family is, or at least how me and my dad are, like we just don't pay attention to that stuff, or like not that we don't pay attention to it, but you just don't give it, I don't know, any power or anything. Like so, like even like my dad and I are like we don't watch, you know, movies about demons and stuff even, and we make fun of my sister all the time, just like, oh, you're gonna conjure something, you know. So I don't know, but the experiences that happened stopped happening when we fixed the attic door.
That's funny. Even the TV, all that stuff?
Yep, all of it.
That's interesting. Did we talk about this house last time? I forget.
Nope, this was my house that I grew up in at my parents'.
Okay. Did it have any weird history to it?
You know, like kind of going along with just not giving it too much, you know, power or thought or anything. I never really looked into the house, but it was an old house. I mean, it was
Yeah.
built in like the early 1920s, maybe even a tad bit earlier, and then was kind of added on sometime in like the 80s. And so like there's two separate parts of the house, and every time one of these things would happen, it was always in the older part of the house, like the original built part.
And you weren't the only one experiencing this stuff, even though you kind of aren't so much down with the idea of it all. Like, was your sister seeing other things or experiencing other
You know,
things?
she's never brought it up, but I'm gonna ask her sometime, see if she's had anything happen. But like I said, that went the whole TV thing turning on three separate times as I'm like walking away. That happened in front of a buddy and my girlfriend at the time. And of course, I told him already that, like, you know, it happens every once in a while. And of course, you know, just like everybody, they don't really believe you, you know, and you do it and then it happens and they're just standing there like, you know, I mean, like they seen a ghost.
Right.
And I don't know, you know, maybe the TV was old and the buttons sticked, you know, I don't
Right.
know.
Right. Yep. Yeah. No, I know. I've heard interesting stories like that, and I don't know. I've experienced things like that with the TVs in my old house, and I just don't know. And I know my house does have weird history and murders, and there's graveyards in the woods. But sometimes I'm just like it might just be a screw loose in my brain and or in the technology in the house. But that's a wild one. And also, I've heard that when people have had experiences when they mess around with old houses, like remodeling a part of the house of the old house, that people have told me that it seems to have disrupted what they believe were spirits in the house. Like they didn't like the remodeling or something, or just like when you bat a beehive and the bees all of a sudden are not happy. But who knows?
Yeah, thankfully, you know, that remodel was like done before we moved in there a long time ago. So I didn't have to see like maybe the difference between the original house and then like, you know, if there was any activity or not.
Yeah.
And then the add on, you know.
Maybe the ghost had adjusted already.
Yeah, maybe.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the phone call, man.
Yeah, man. Well, have a good one.
You
Hope
too.
you get some more callers.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Dylan.
Sick. Do we have anybody lined up?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Roll right on.
Thank you, guys. We're here till midnight, and it is Friday the 13th, and it's 11:13. Oh no, it's going to be 11. It's going to be Friday the 13th. Sorry.
I was like, that is false information.
Fake news.
Call that back right now.
Fake news. It will be Friday the 13th by the conclusion of this episode. I do have a Friday the 13th story to tell, but we'll do that later. Let's hear from some callers.
And real quick, thank you to everybody who's hanging out. Thank you to everybody who came back after the power surge that took our Rumble stream down. This is part 2. Like, subscribe, follow, share, comment, blow up the chat, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. And let's get back on the phone. Yeah. We got a couple of new people I haven't seen here.
Cool.
I see you guys in there, and we're going to try to get to everybody here in the next hour. But I want to bring in someone new here that I don't recognize. Let's go to Laura.
Hello.
Laura, you're on Inverted World Live. How you doing?
Hello, how are you guys?
We're good. How are
Good.
you?
I am all right. I wasn't sure this was going to have anything to do with anything tonight, but since we have strayed oddly into the realm of the government doing depraved things to disabled children, we've headed that way. I just thought you might appreciate the sort of thought experiment that I've been going through over the last couple of months or so, that the autism epidemic in this country is on purpose, that the government is doing to create telepaths.
Okay, so you've been watching the telepathy tapes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I haven't been behind the paywall, but I listened to the lady that did it on Rogan.
Yep.
And this is something that I've had quite a bit to think about as well, because for full clarity, I am high functioning autistic myself. And while I don't have any sort of savant talents or anything like that, I do, however, remember everything. Like
Interesting.
literally, I remember everything
Like a
for no reason. It's just the way that my brain works,
Like
and it's
little-
just one of those things that I've wondered about.
No, like dates
And-
and things like that. I have a friend like that actually.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those odd things that you encounter every now and then, but it's kind of one of those blessing and a curse things.
Oh, that's
But
incredible.
I just excuse me, I had always kind of thought about stuff like that in the back of my mind about why things would go that way, and I was again listening to the lady on the telepathy tapes on Rogan, and as she was talking about it, studying this stuff in a clinical setting, it all of a sudden reminded me so strongly of the character of River from Firefly / Serenity, which if you guys watch that show or know the show,
I know of
you
it.
know the
Yeah,
character.
I watched it in college when I
So
was not in a
the
proper
whole
headspace.
backstory with River is she presents like she's crazy, and then as you find out through the show, spoiler for a 25-year-old show, she was a super genius that had gotten recruited into what was supposed to be the super special school for the smartest of the smart, but it was actually a galactic government program where they modified her brain to make her a psychic. And then her brother rescues her, and that's why she's not there anymore. But it just reminded me so strongly of that. And I thought about the timeline of autism, and the first official diagnosis of autism was in 1942. And it was a boy who was born in 1933. So that's when it starts. I would presume that a lot of the nefarious government operations were largely taken up by World War II for, probably 1939 to 1945 or so. And then we get into the post-World War II era of when we were having things like remote viewing start to become something that people were paying attention to. We know that we were looking into occult stuff that the Nazis were presumably into as well.
Oh yeah.
So we're starting to consider things like that. And now also thinking at the time, so the lady on the telepathy tapes, she was talking about that a lot of the first people to pick up on the fact that some of these nonverbal autistic kids were possibly telepathic were the mothers, the ones who spent the most time with them. Well, in the 40s and the 50s, what would you do with a profoundly autistic nonverbal child? Straight to the asylum, where, most of which are going to be run by government people, government doctors, nurses, and whatever. And let's say a couple of these nurses start picking up on maybe these kids know what they're thinking before they say anything. If they repeat that to a couple of doctors repeat that to enough people that, the remote viewing folks might get hearing about this. Well, they would probably want to know. And so, of course, it's be very easy to go in and grab some of those kids out of the asylum. And let's say it is true that the kids are telepathic. Well, they would have been able to preserve that or prove that very easily.
Right.
And does anybody really think that the government is not depraved enough to go, oh, well, let's ramp this up so we can get as many of these kids as possible to get our hands on?
Yeah.
Because they would have been in asylums up until the 80s when Reagan shut those down. And, we've all had that question of why is it just the United States? Why is it just us in the Western world that has so overdone this vaccination schedule?
Yeah.
Why is it just us? It's not Great Britain. It's, not any of these other developed countries in Europe. Why is it just us that is seeing this unprecedented epidemic of autism?
Yeah. And they've made it so like it's so taboo if you don't want to go through the process. Like I have young kids, and we've been kicked out of a lot of places, pediatric places, for not being down with it. And it's so insane to me that it's like, oh, you don't want to give all of these things to your baby all at once? Like, no, I don't.
Well, and it's the one thing we're not allowed to question.
Yeah.
In medical science.
Right.
And almost you can question chemotherapy, you can question SSRIs now, you can question every single thing, but by God, vaccinating your children is a religion.
Yep.
And they made Melissa McCarthy. I remember when I was in high school, it was and into college, it was Melissa McCarthy Body Count.
Right.
That website about I'll look at how many kids Melissa McCarthy killed because she talks about vaccines causing autism.
So insane. Yeah.
It's the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting theory. As you're saying it, I was thinking two things. Like, I do think that's possible. I haven't seen the telepathy tapes. I did see that interview that you're talking about on Rogan, and I think there's something there. And I wouldn't put it past the government to notice that and try to accelerate it. And it was just interesting to me also thinking about how like our government has a long history of eugenics, and they were also for a long time thinking like, people who are born what they say as mentally disabled, they should maybe not be born at all, which is part of like abortion and a lot of these things. People are having like, they want to have designer children. So this idea of creating what they think is the perfect kind of person, it could be two things, like kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the superhuman, except it's not AI. It's this, we're breeding these kind of like powerful agents and seeing what it is for like how it works on a widespread case. 'Cause I don't know what the rates are in other countries in terms of autism, but I know it's only increased here, and it's staggering. And
where we are 1 in 36.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it could be there's something there, and they're just trying to. I hate to say weaponize it, but I mean that is what they do.
No, I think that's exactly what it is.
Do. Yep.
And again, I'm not saying that I think this is 100% what's happening, but it was just one of those sort of thought processes that I ended up down that made a little bit too much sense.
Yeah, and like so I was saying is like they could have changed their tone. These people behind the scenes, the eugenicists, like the Brave New World types, being like, oh wait, no, we don't want to get rid of this type of person because maybe they have something we could use, and then all of a sudden they matter, and then they're like, well, how can we make a lot of them, and how can we do it without telling anybody? And they do that in so many different things. It's just like we were talking about MK Ultra earlier. They gave a lot of people acid without them knowing. For also for a mind control type, or not that this is mind control, but for a mind experiment, So yeah, I wanna watch more of the telepathy tapes and see what that gets into. But I thought that interview was really interesting.
Yeah, for sure, it was very compelling.
And when it comes to your memory, is that something you just always knew you had from a young age?
Yeah, no, I got told by adults for as long as I could remember that I had an amazing memory, and so just to give you an idea of kind of how it works, so amongst my friend group, they all kind of know this, and will just, if somebody has a question they need to ask, they'll just sort of let it stand until I come up with the answer. And so this was a couple of months ago. We were all on our PlayStation group chat, and I don't even know what caused this conversation, but one of my friends just in the middle of something goes, oh, what was the name of the dog on Itchy and Scratchy? And everybody just kind of stopped and thought about it for a second, and nobody said anything. Oh, okay, well, hang on, this is a question for me. So I stopped what I was doing and devoted my full brain power to the question for about a second, and totally unbidden in my head, the piece of information that my brain got to the soonest that had the answer in it was the modified theme song that had the third name in it. And so with the whole orchestral music and everything, I just heard inside my head the theme song with Poochie in it, and that was the answer. And then I just said it to the chat, and that was it. But
that's amazing.
It just went through that, and I got the song first. And the way that my brain got me the memory was to actually play the song inside my head.
Wow. So is that how the process is? Like it sounds like you actually go through a process of your thoughts to get to it.
Yeah.
Instead of like, it's almost like opening file cabinets, like
that's exactly what it is. It's a room of filing cabinets, and if if I can't get to it quickly enough, I can sort of put it in the background and it'll kind of keep looking on its own, and I'll usually get to it within about 30 minutes.
It's almost sort of photographic in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of, I mean, it's very visual. I mean, it's anything, any memory that's something that I've actually seen, I can play as a movie with no loss of quality.
Have you ever been stumped?
Not so far, unless there were drugs involved.
Nice.
That is interesting. And do you remember how it was when you discovered this? Like how young you were?
I can't really say there was a moment of discovery that it was super unique until high school, that I realized that not everybody else had the sort of visualization of it. I always knew it was unique in that I remembered more and I had more clarity, and everything just sort of seemed to be at the front of my mind all the time. But the realizing that most people don't have that visualization was really not until high school.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's wild. Well, I appreciate you calling in and sharing that story.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Of course. Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Yep.
Wow. You never know. You never know what's going to spark some idea, some memory in a caller. So, guys, you're more than welcome to hit that link in the chat. I know we got some people lined up. Phone lines will be open till Friday the 13th because it is June 12th. And yeah, I think there's 2 Friday the 13th this year. I think the next one's in December.
I think at most we have like 2 or 3. It's usually like 1.
Sometimes there's none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Nothing bad happens that year. Nothing at all.
Debatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually intercepted a tweet here on X from Ryan Hudson. Ryan, if you can call in here, I will bring you on the air.
Cool.
For this one. But he tweeted you too. I think you're on that. But he's got a picture actually he supplied here of an apparition that seems to be standing with them in a picture in an old house. Smithville Mansion, it looks like, in East Hampton, New Jersey. So I would totally love to bring that on. I would love him to also be here to narrate this and tell us what happened with it. So we're going to wait on that.
I'm seeing it.
He said he should be calling in a few minutes. So yeah, just
Sick.
Ryan, if you can, make sure you change your name to that in the Zoom meeting so I know it's you, and I will try to get you on as soon as I can with that story. In the meantime, let's go to, I want to bring in Charles G., who I believe will be another new caller. I don't think we've had him yet, or at least I haven't. Charles, you're on Inverted World. What's up?
Awesome.
Hello. Thanks for joining us.
I'm excited.
So you got a story for us.
Yes, a paranormal story.
Sick. Let's hear it.
Yep. Am I ready to go?
Yeah.
Go for it.
You're live, man.
The floor is yours.
So, just a little bit of, just a little bit of preface. So right now I'm 30 years old. This story starts all the way back in like 2009 when I was in about 10th grade. I started having all these strange dreams like every night for about 3 weeks. And I would wake up every single morning at about 3:30, 3:33. This was well before I knew anything about the supernatural. I wasn't conspiratorial. I grew up in a very religious household, but like there was never a big conversation about like demonic entities or anything of the sorts. Anyway, I started doing some research about these dreams I was having. I confided in my mother, who ultimately ended up confiding in a priest, which I found this out much later. He came and blessed our house. I like really unnerved my mom with the things that I was sharing with her. Eventually, it got to the point in my research that I learned about lucid dreaming, and then later on astral projection. So this conversation you're having about these remote viewers really like kind of sparked this in my memory. So I started having these dreams and learned about lucid dreaming and discovered that this might be a pathway to kind of figure out what's going on in my subconscious. And it evolved to the point to where I was able to just throw myself into a void, almost like a sleep deprivation tank. Now that these are more common, I can actually associate it with something. Um, and I would kind of create these worlds around myself. And eventually, the movie Inception came out about a year later after all this happened. And when I saw that movie, I realized, okay, what I'm experiencing isn't an isolated incident. Obviously, I've read about lucid dreaming already, but what I was actually visualizing in my sleep, in my dream world, I actually saw come to fruition in the real world. And that's just something that cannot be conveyed in words. You have to visually see it to kind of understand. This goes on, this almost absolute control that I have over this dreamscape of mine goes on for about another year. And as I'm doing it, this entity essentially starts observing me from the background. It's always there. And mind you, I have complete control over these worlds. If I wanted to be somewhere else, I could be somewhere else. I could change the landscape, the people around me, everything in my environment. But eventually, this entity would always be present. I could not escape it, like at all. And it weighed on me so heavily. Like, I mean, it made me uncomfortable. I've never felt uncomfortable in a dream, like even in a nightmare. And it's hard to relive this. If you can't tell, I'm getting a little shakiness in my voice, and I'm sure you can see my cam. I'm probably getting a little flush.
I can see you, but we're not broadcasting. Don't worry,
Yeah.
nobody else can.
And take your time.
Yeah, take your time, brother.
This continued, and I kept waking up at 3:33. I ended up researching the significance of that angel number, or whatever they want to call it, and the demonic ties in between this time frame, this witching hour, as I learned that it was called.
Yep.
I got to a point where I had a conversation with this thing, and I just asked it questions like, what are you? What do you want from me? Like, why can't I get away from you? And it never answered. It kept giving me this just open-ended questions. It wanted me to follow it, all this stuff. And eventually one night, it just kind of drew a line. It said, either come with me or stop fooling around with what you're doing. And this void that I was in, it's just pure blackness. It opened up, um, almost like a stairwell, like descending, and I just felt this heat. I just felt like this darkness and this just oppressive force just on my chest, and I woke up. Like, I have never woken up so violently in my life, where I shot up off of my pillow. Um, I basically, before I woke up, I said, screw you. Like, I had at this point moved away from Christianity, and I didn't believe in any of this at all.
Right.
I couldn't bring myself to it. Growing up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and just like all these religious zealots around me, it steered me away from it. But after that night, I remember walking to my front, my living room, and we have this humongous sliding glass door, this huge fireplace mantle that you pass as you're walking towards it. And as I'm walking towards this door to let my dog out, I see this figure in the reflection sitting to my left. And I turn to look at it because in my mind, there's actually something there. It looked so real. It stood out so clearly to me. And then the next thing that happened, this old barn window frame that we had mounted on our fireplace mantle falls down on me. And I put my arms up, and those thin glass panes, my arms just go through it. I have cuts on my arm because of it. And
Wow.
I had to leave and get stitches. My mom was there. She takes me to the ER, and we come back, and just like the last person mentioned, or the person before him, every single TV on, or every single TV in our house was on the same channel, which should be impossible. We all had different cable boxes. We all watched different shows, and it was just loud static.
Wow.
But yeah, I know I just kind of yapped here, but and
No.
I know no one would possibly believe me. I've told this story to 3 people. One person that found my dream journal when they were helping my mom move and called me
Oh
and
boy.
asked me if I was okay.
Oh boy.
An ex-girlfriend, and then a roommate I had. But if anyone doubts that there is something greater going on here, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's God. I don't know if it's demons, what have you, but there's something significant happening behind the scenes. I didn't believe it. I get shook up just reliving this experience. But yeah, remote viewing is real. Y'all don't doubt that for a second. I definitely dipped my toe into the astral plane, and I got checked. I
Yeah.
got checked by an entity much more powerful than myself.
I know someone, an older guy. He's probably in his early 60s. Successful guy, father, great father. And he told me a story when he was in college, so it was 40 years ago, of him getting into the astral world. And he told me a very similar story to yours. He didn't have the attack in the real world, but he did tell me that he started to love it there and he didn't want to leave. Like he really liked being
Yep.
there. And he befriended an entity. He didn't say entity, but there was like a figure. And he thought it was like a friend. And I don't know how long he would be going there, but this happened for a long amount of time. And one time in the astral world, he was looking at that figure that he had befriended there, and then something came up behind him and whispered in his ear. I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly how he said it. I remember it as him being told that you're talking to the devil. He might not have used the word devil. It might have been something else, like something evil. But something came up behind him and warned him, like, the thing you think is your friend is bad. And he left and never went back. Did you feel that way, like when you were going to the astral place, like that you were kind of like happier there than in the real world?
I would say yes. And I mentioned I've only told this to a few people, one being a girlfriend. And I ended up telling her because we actually went to see a movie called Insidious.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about
And
that. I haven't seen it.
well, there's this boy, the premise is a boy starts to astral project, and then eventually his father learns how to save him. Um, well, when they finally enter that scene where they finally show where this boy's been going to, I actually became physically ill and stood up and walked out of the theater.
Whoa.
I'm not someone that gets easily scared, but in
Mhm.
that moment, that was so real for me.
Right.
The void, the darkness, the woman that was ghostly white, almost as if she was covered in ash. There's a few things I've left out of my story. It's just hard to talk about. Um, but yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yes, absolutely. I mean, it just, at this point in my life, I feel like I was being led by a demon to kind of descend into a closer relationship with a devil or the devil. It felt so hot in that moment when that floor opened up to reveal to me what I wanted to know. Like, what are you? Um,
Was it
I just Go
trying
ahead.
to entice you in anything? Like, was it saying, like, was it promising anything? Like, if you took the staircase?
It did not the only thing it promised me was that every question I wanted, every question I had would be answered. And immediately when I woke up, I reflected back on what I had learned in Bible study about the tree of knowledge. And I just said, I just told myself, wow, you dodged a bullet there. That is biblical, nearly prophetic. I mean, and I converted my life to Christ and committed my life to Christ in that moment, because I knew everything. I had doubted there was some truth to it, at least. Not that it was 100% right, but that there was definitely some truth to it.
Yeah, there's certainly evil in this world, and it wants you, for sure.
Yep.
Would you mind saying the things that you saw that came true?
So probably the most prevalent prophetic dream that I had. I was sitting at my desk. This was the dream took place senior year of high school. And I was sitting at my desk with my 4 friends. We had our 4 desks facing each other. It was after lunch, and it was a weird vibe because our teacher wasn't in the room, which was odd. She's always in there. And in my dream, she comes back in shortly after we sat down and the bell is rung. She's very somber. There's a lot of sorrow on her face, and she turns to us and she says, guys, in the next few weeks, I will not be here anymore. I'm not going to finish the school year with y'all. I have cancer. And I swear on my soul, about 2 weeks later, we are sitting in class. I'm sitting down in front of my friends. I turn to my buddy Chris and Travis, and they're having a conversation. I can't even recall what it is now, but I've said, we've had this conversation before. Travis goes, no, we haven't. I just revealed a dark secret to y'all. And I said, yeah, and you developed that dark secret because of this. And he goes, how did you know that? And I said, I've lived this. And in the next moment, my teacher walked in and told us she had cancer. And that's kind of when I really started diving into the lucid dreaming. That was very early on to it, but that was the most prophetic aspect of it.
Did that feel
And
more like
to-
a premonition
Go
to
ahead.
you than, sorry, did that feel more like a premonition to you than, like a deja vu? Or was it kind of inverse?
Well, I remember waking up from that dream and thinking, why would I have that dream? I've not thought about cancer. I don't have any family members with cancer. No show I've watched has any cancer themes in it. I think about that stuff when I have dreams. And I just kind of went on about my day. It didn't it was weird because it stuck out and stuck in my head, but I only thought it stuck in my head because it was just so random. It didn't make sense. It wasn't part of my subconscious. It wasn't, related to some movie or video game I played. And in that moment that everything started to play out in real life, have you ever been sedated? You know that moment right before you go under where everything's just kind of warm and like a haze?
Yep.
It feels fake. That's exactly what it felt like. Like it was planned and written and acted out.
Yeah, that's wild.
But like I've had deja vu, but it just felt so different from that. So
Yeah.
just like far removed.
Yeah.
Have you do you do the lucid dreaming at all anymore?
I don't.
Like
I stopped. If I find myself, you can't ever stop. I dream, I realize I'm dreaming, I wake myself up. It is what you said, your old buddy. It's addictive. I've done plenty of drugs in my life. I'm not happy to admit that. I was a kid in college. What can I say?
Yeah.
But lucid dreaming, having that absolute control over everything around you, I understand why they say power corrupts all, because that was the most addictive part about it. It wasn't sexual, it wasn't perverted, it was control. peace, being able to create things that could never exist in this world.
Right.
And the older I've gotten, I can see why the devil would want to take advantage of people dipping their toes in that realm, because it is addictive. And if he had promised me more power, I honestly can't even tell you what I would have done. It was so subversive, it was so sneaky, but I just knew something wasn't right. I have complete control over everything except you, and you're trying to offer me something. You're trying to take me somewhere. I learned stranger danger very, very young.
Yeah.
You can't jiggle candy in front of me and get me in your van,
Yeah.
Mr.
Nice.
Devil.
Nice.
But that's what it felt
I love
like.
that you were raised right, and you even used it in the astral world to say no. That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that you won in the end, and appreciate
Yeah,
you calling in and
and thank
sharing
you
the
for letting
story.
me come here and share this story. I didn't expect to speak this long, but
No, it was great.
and I don't expect anyone to believe me, but guys, I promise you, if you just keep your mind open, you'll see it. It'll happen to you eventually, but just be careful because it's real.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Well, I really appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, man.
Awesome. You have a great night, guys. Be
Take
safe.
care.
Thanks, you too. Wow. Incredible. Not incredible, but incredible story.
Yeah.
How are we doing on callers?
We have a lot.
Oh boy. Okay.
But the guy that I called out to,
Yep.
I do believe he is in this room.
Yeah.
We're about 16 minutes or so just shy of Friday the 13th here.
Yep.
And this guy has photographic apparition that he wants to talk about on the show.
Let's do it.
So, Damien Dysfunctional, I see you guys. I know you've been there for a minute. If we can squeeze this guy, I'll try to get one or two of you guys in. We're going to try not to run crazy late tonight because we did that last night, but we will get to you guys eventually. If not tonight, then we'll have you guys call back for next show. But I want to bring in, I believe this is Ryan Hudson. He is named in here Hudson the Beard. And the picture has him with a beard, so I think this is him. So let's go to Ryan.
Awesome.
And Ryan, if you can hear us, unmute. If this is Ryan and not just a crazy coincidence on the Hudson thing.
Or just the entity from the picture.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up?
How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Good. Is this Ryan Hudson? Did I talk to you on Twitter?
Yes, sir. That's me.
Hey, man. So I got your story. We're definitely tantalized by this. I've got the photos that you sent over in the tweet. Are you cool with us broadcasting these for everybody else to look at?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Why don't you just give us a brief synopsis on what the background here was, and I'll go ahead and I'll pop these up for the viewers.
So, I mean, really quickly, just to kind of summarize it all the way, this was at the Smithville Mansion. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw that already. So it was a guided tour. They do tours like this, I think, fairly often. It's a pretty big, old mansion that's been around for a long time. They used to do like ghost investigations there and all that, back in the day before they started doing the tours, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah, I mean, like, it just looked like something that like me and the lady were into, and we had a friend that wanted to come along with us, so we set everything up. And Brando, I know you like your skeptics.
Yeah, and, you know that, yeah.
And so just to for faces really quickly, when I was like 18 to 20, I was really into ghost hunting, all about it, totally, like, always did it. But even back then, I didn't like to do tours. I didn't like other people. Like, I mean, I like, if I had a friend with me, I'd always tell him, like, don't say, did you hear that? Don't say anything. Like, when we leave, then we can talk about it, but I don't want anything influencing. And so now fast forward, I'm in my, mid 30s now, and, we decided to go do this. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. Like, and I mean, again, it's a guided tour. And so I'm wildly skeptical of the whole thing. Like, I mean, I'm barely treating it as if it's even a haunted mansion, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of having fun. Mm-hmm. And I don't take selfies at all, almost ever. Like, occasionally, if me and the lady are out, to dinner or something, I will, but I never do. And I took a few photos, like regular photos, nothing really. And we took that one selfie, and it was like, I mean, again, random. Like I'm just like, you know what, we're out with our new friend, let me take a quick photo. And basically, it wasn't until I want to say later on that evening that I was just kind of going through my photos from the night, just like nonchalantly, like, don't need this photo, let's delete that. That's stupid. And I'm like I paused on that one, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what is that? What exactly is, so I mean, I turned to my lady, I'm like, babe, do you see what I'm looking at here? And she was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Like, yeah, I mean, it was just really, 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 really weird. Like I didn't expect it. And then like the more that we looked into it, apparently, so Agnes, I don't remember her last name, but she is one of the original owners of that mansion. And we happen to be, so I didn't look it up. My lady did, but like, we happened to be standing right outside her bedroom when that photo was taken.
It's Agnes M. Gilkerson Smith, I believe.
Gilkerson, that's it.
Can we pull up his picture too?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I want to bring up the photo that he's talking about here. We'll give you the first look at it.
Agnes Smith.
So take a close look there.
Let's see if anyone sees it.
You can see all of the real people in this one. And,
allegedly real.
Allegedly real.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys
Ryan's talking to us,
we
but
don't know.
It could be AI. I don't know.
We don't know. But you'll also notice here in the back, right dead center back there, that they appear to be being photobombed by a wispy type figure here. So let's jump up to the zoom in on this here.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. So all the way to the left of the screen is me. The person to the right is my lady. The one in the back is our friend, and the older woman all the way to the right is the tour guide.
Okay.
And yeah, right in between our friend and the tour guide, that's where that whole little like apparition, I guess, popped up. And it was, I mean, I'm surprised I even caught it. Yeah. But all the photos. So I mean, I sent you all the photos. It's the first one's the original one. The second one is zoomed in. The third has the little like arrow pointing to it.
Yeah, that's
and the fourth is Agnes herself.
WTF is that? Question mark. Exclamation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. This, and just for reference here, I'm going to show this last picture of this is Agnes, the woman that he was referring to as one of the owners of the home. Is this who you believe you saw in this this photo?
So that's what we're thinking. That's kind of like the consensus that we've kind of come to, because it most certainly looks like her, no question. And it just so happened to be right in front of her bedroom. And so when I took this photo, I had kind of gone off alone in her bedroom, just kind of like snooping around, like just so the tour itself, I think, was probably had about 7 or 8 people, more or less, like including us. And like everyone, like it wasn't like a sanctioned guided tour. Like we kind of went room to room, but we were allowed to kind of go to different rooms by ourselves and look around and kind of like stray away from the actual tour itself. And I just happened to be snooping around in that room, just kind of like looking around. And when I came out, we all kind of met in the hallway. And that's around that time was when I decided to take the photo. And here we are.
That's wild. That's wild. Did they talk about the place being haunted by her, or like, if anything, did she die in the house?
So I don't know if she died in the house, but so the tour guide, to the best of my recollection, she did say that there has been like a lot of, well, I don't want to say a lot, but
Right.
like many sightings and apparitions and so on and so forth, like throughout pretty much the entire mansion. I don't remember her saying anything about the actual bedroom, though.
I wonder if she's attached to the lady. Like, I wonder if she follows her around. Like, if you get more selfies from the tour guide.
I actually had that same thought myself. And really quick, if we have just like a couple minutes, so I have my lady here with me. I would like for her to jump on really quick and tell her side of it too, because she might be able to give you a little bit more insight to it than I would, because I was kind of oblivious to the whole thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, give me 1 second.
Definitely looks like
If you're just joining,
ghost photo bomb.
we are looking at a photo of a presumed apparition here, and we've got Hudson the Beard and his girlfriend here giving us their testimonies.
Annie is hopping on right now.
Hi guys, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
Great. Love your show.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Welcome. Why don't
Thank
you
you
tell us what's
for-
going on with this thing?
This ghost photo bomb. What happened here?
So the mansion, it's one of my favorite places. It goes back to like 1676. The actual used to be like an Indian village, Delaware Indians. And over the years it was purchased. It's like 500 acres of land because it's Smithville Mansion and Smith's Woods. It was a textile factory at one point, woodworking, furniture making, and Hezekiah Smith and his wife, I believe they're the ones that built the actual mansion. And they do lots of tours, like, high noon teas and things like that. And any chance I get, I go there, and I just absolutely love it there. And they were doing a, not a ghost tour per se, but a tour and then telling the ghost stories of the place. And I convinced him and my girlfriend to go with me. And he just happened to, he's taking pictures everywhere, and then just happened to grab us in a photo. And then later on that evening was like, babe, who is that? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Because nothing ever really happens to me. I'm like, something finally happened to me.
You got a ghost.
So is this the first time that you've discovered anything like this around you? Anything weird or?
Well, the house I used to live in, I was pretty sure had some poltergeist activity, but I was pretty sure that had to do with my daughter was starting menses at the time, but we were getting like some kinetic, pens popping out of the pen holders and things like that, and some weird stuff with the TV, but nothing actually like hauntings, like no apparitions. Like I'm empathic, which is difficult to manage as a normal human being. But so like I don't hear voices or anything like that, but I get like emotions, like I feel emotions around me. So like if I'm like in a place where there's like a lot of sadness, I'll start crying, like even though nothing's wrong with me. But at the mansion when we were there, I kept getting drawn to this one room, and it wasn't the room that the photo was taken, but there's this one room I'm like, I just wanted to be in there. I just wanted to stay there. And it was like this huge fireplace, but that's not the room that we caught something. It was someplace completely random, like outside her bedroom. So.
Interesting. But you were feeling weird things there.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely drawn to the place. Like it's got so much history, and I think there's like a regalness about it, like a aristocratness about it. Like I've signed up to volunteer there, and I'm like, oh, can't wait. I want to decorate my mansion.
Maybe you could find the ghost again, ask some questions.
Oh, definitely. That's like another reason why I want to start like spending more time there. Like, hello, Agnes, I'm back.
So I don't know if you can if you're watching right now, but this is you standing next to this apparition, correct? Here to the left there.
So directly between, the apparition is directly between the tour guide and my girlfriend.
Okay.
And then I'm right next to my girlfriend.
Oh, okay. I have it blown up a little bit. Okay, cool. So, how did I'm assuming you told her about this?
Oh yeah, I told everybody.
How did
look at this? Look.
How did she feel when she seen the picture of her standing directly next to what appears to be a ghost?
She thought it was great. She can't wait to go back.
It almost looks like she knew that it was there,
right?
Because she almost seems to be posing with this figure, and I find it just really funny because it really looks like she almost knows that it's there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, did you guys notice anything else weird in during this tour, or is this the only thing that really stuck out on it?
No, during the tour, nothing stuck out to us at all, except for, like I said, I was drawn to this one room, a lot. And that usually, like, to me, that usually means there's like an old feeling there, like a lot of history or something happened in that room or whatever. But that was not the room that we caught anything in, because I'm like, go back to the pictures of that room, and like, nope, nothing. just this random hallway photo bomb.
Incredible. Well, call back after you go back to the place, and if anything happens, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Keep us surprised if you notice anything else weird here, because we're definitely interested in this.
Yeah, and you can look up the history. It's online. It's Smithville Mansion in East Hampton, New Jersey.
Cool.
And they have a historic society, and they do lots of really great events there too. So.
Yeah, cool. We'll definitely be checking up on it. Thank you guys so much for calling in with this. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, you guys have a good night.
I just want to let everyone know that Serge has apologized profusely. and I'm still not sure if the retaliation will happen.
How do you know it's Surge and not some skin job pretending to be Surge for one, too?
This is true.
These could be AI apologies.
Yeah. I'm not actually seeing it. Anyone could have his phone right now.
Maybe he's fueling just the fire for this, and tomorrow we wake up and we're just at all-out war.
With Surge.
With Surge.
Do we still have some callers? What do you think? We have time to do one?
There are still 5 people in queue, and it is almost 12 o'clock.
Okay.
So we're 3 minutes away from Friday the 13th.
So, what do you think?
It's up to you, man.
Well, let's do one more, guys. I feel bad, but we'll do one more, and then if you can call back on Monday, please call back. We'll take you then. But I don't want to keep everyone too late. It was a late night last night.
Yeah, it was.
But let's see how this one goes. And there's some Friday the 13th things I want to make sure I said as well before we close out.
Yeah.
So let's take one for now, and we'll play it by ear.
We'll jump really quick.
I'm addicted to the callers. I love hearing. I mean, I'm so happy that you guys are calling in.
No, me too, and it's been awesome tonight. So,
despite Surge.
He's got me so messed up. Like, subscribe, follow, share, chat, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you to all of our callers that are still in queue waiting. We're sorry we can't get to all of you tonight, but again, we will get to you guys next week if you call back in. I'm memorizing names as we speak. So I want to bring in Dysfunctional because he has been here waiting patiently for a while. Damien, my bad. Again, call on Monday. I'll get to you first if I can.
Someone said 24-hour stream.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That would be crazy.
But yeah, let's go. Someone else said I take off every Friday the 13th. That's hilarious.
Dysfunctional, you are on Inverted World Live. What is up?
What is up? Yeah, of course, you guys are bringing me in on Friday the 13th. This is great. I have
1 minute.
a few stories. Quite a few. Luckily, I never thought I could fill time. So I'll just do it this quick one here. So I grew up in a house in Phillipsburg, Ohio. It's about a block away from the school. It's a real small town. I'm talking like 12 kids per class sort of thing. Anyway, I was asleep one night, and it was in 8th grade. I remember playing on my DS and, just kind of messing around with it and staying up too late as a kid. And I fall asleep, and I remember waking up to a voice in my ear just screaming like that hollow, like a whisper, but as loud as humanly possible. Sleep paralysis, completely couldn't move, couldn't do anything. And obviously after a bit of time, you kind of gain your senses. I start being able to move, and that's the first thing I thought. I'm grabbing this freaking DS. I'm going downstairs. I'm never coming up here again. And never happened again. Nothing ever really strange happened in that house for me. We move out, and a new family comes in, and everybody, like I said, it's a small town, so everybody notices a single mom with 3 kids attends the school. Well, about I'd say like a year into them living into that house after we left, that mom goes off and kills all her kids and herself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So maybe, I did write it off as like sleep paralysis. Like I did research. I thought like maybe it's just like a medical thing. Like it really wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe it's just like a hallucination in my brain when I just transitioned out of dream world or whatever. But yeah, then I heard the triple homicide suicide, and
that's crazy.
That seals the deal. Story. I think that was a fucking demon. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so too. I mean, it's like I can't even fathom what drives someone to do that. Like that is it's just straight up evil.
Oh, the kids! I didn't know the kids by the time we left, but apparently they were all loved, well behaved. I mean, and yeah, horrible tragedy.
Horrible. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. We've had stuff like that happen where I'm from too, and unfortunately, it's not rare. You hear these stories a lot, and it's just like how, like I was actually thinking about something last night while on the show. I didn't bring it up, but you sparked it again about people I knew who were like basically my older brothers and sisters who went to war and came back. One of them came back just not right. And this guy I really, really looked up to. And he had a family. And when he came back, he ended up driving him and his kids into a lake, and they all died. And it was just like,
God.
it made no sense. It made absolutely no sense to me. He was such a great person. And man, these just little kids, but it's insane that happens. And man, that's wild.
Yeah, I can only think influenced by a demon, man. Like, how
Yeah.
can you get to that point? You know, something ticking in your brain,
Yeah, no, I
poking
agree.
you at night, you know.
Yep.
I don't know who slept upstairs, but that's where it was. And if that was the mom, it would make sense, because if she had 3 kids, she'd probably put them downstairs away from her so she could be alone.
Mm.
And if she was sleeping upstairs in my room, it would make a whole lot of sense.
Some people are monsters, man, too.
That's true.
That is real. And
Straight up.
I actually remember when I was a kid, there were these kids that used to stay across the hall from me when I would visit my grandmother. And I used to help watch them. We used to babysit them every now and then. And one weekend, she called a different babysitter. And the babysitter came over to the house, tied both the kids up, put pillows over their heads, and shot them both.
What?
What the fuck? Oh my gosh.
And I was maybe 14, 15, and I had just seen these kids a couple of weeks before. They were nice kids, very cool. And this was, I believe, for me, when I started to truly believe in evil, in whatever form that it takes. I say it all the time. I'm not religious at all, but I do believe good and evil are things, and there are some people that are just inherently evil. Whether they've been tormented by something or not, you know, PTSD, what have you, maybe they were just messed up from birth. But I do believe that there are people out there that are monsters, and monsters do walk among us.
Yep. I think there's straight up, some people just have that evil urge in them. They can be possessed, and other people are susceptible to it, and it takes over.
I mean, I was saved immediately after moving. So
Oh, wow.
I think I was actually going to a Christian school to do wrestling practice, and the guy invited me to church, and I was probably saved from maybe like 3 weeks after the sleep paralysis. So I don't know, man.
Wow.
Call it what you will. You can don't have to be religious, but I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that can stop demons. It's probably saying Jesus Christ. It tends to work. So
Yep, I'm with you. I agree, man. And it took me a long time to realize that. I'm still new to that, but I'm there now, thankfully. But wow, that's some story, man. Yeah, I know you said you had other stories. If you want to call back next week, we'd love to hear them.
dude, I got a mad Ouija board story for you. Dude.
Oh,
It's
man.
crazy. It takes a long time to tell, but I can tell.
Well, definitely, please call back next week because we definitely want to hear it.
All right, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, thanks for sharing.
Yep.
Wow. So apologies to everyone we couldn't get to. I feel really bad. We'll be back Monday, and we'll take all your calls. Please do call back. I promise Serge will not do that again.
You can't make that promise.
I know. I'm telling him right now he can never do it again. But we'll see. You know. Did you ever have anything weird happen to you on Friday the 13th?
No, but it is funny that people were calling this the power surge because Andy, our filmer for the Boonies, my buddy, we both grew up with him, and we were messing around over in the warehouse a couple of weeks ago skating, and he suggested a new Casper coffee that had Surge's face on it with just electric coming out of his eyes, and he wanted to call it Power Surge and just have it super caffeinated. So I texted him immediately when this happened, and I said we just had an actual, Surge just totally ended our stream. And people in chat are calling it a power surge. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, it's just a coffee I invented 2 weeks ago. No big deal.
Yeah, this is all part of Surge's brand now, his coffee brand. He wants to sell coffee bags.
Yeah, I think this is staged.
This episode of Inverted World Live is brought to you by Power Surge, the new coffee from Casper.
It'll end your stream.
That sounds, it could be a double entendre. I had a dark Friday the 13th story. First of all, I wanted to say, actually, before I forget, Art Bell, the host of Coast to Coast AM, who this show obviously has a lot of love for Art Bell's Coast to Coast days. Big inspiration to me. He died on Friday the 13th. Isn't that
Really?
insane? Of all the days for someone like that to die, he died on Friday the 13th. I was 1 year old when my parents moved to the farm in the middle of the woods that I grew up on. My dad got the job working the horse farm, and my mom got a job as the dog catcher in town. And as a 1 year old, I would be on her back. She'd keep me on the back, like in one of those backpacks, and go around catching dogs. This is how we grew up in a small town. And that was for a long time. So we'd always like have rescue dogs, but also there'd be like, I have memories of my mom scraping dead pancake dogs to the floor that had been there for who knows how long off of some dead person's house. So that was part of the job. So like lovely memories of smells like that, smells of the incinerator at the vet, at the kennel. And at one point we rescued a dog. I was older. I was probably in high school, and I have two little sisters, 4 years younger than me. Then the youngest is 8 years younger than me. And when the dog came home, this weird looking, like just a mess. It looked like it had like tiger stripes, but it was like shaped like a Rottweiler, and it just kind of looked like a mutant. And my parents brought it home on Friday the 13th. And my sister came up with the name. They asked us what we wanted to name the dog. My middle sister, for whatever reason, immediately, she must have been 11 or 12, said, "Oh, it's Friday the 13th. Let's name it Jinx." Which
I thought you were going to say Jason, honestly.
that would have been funny, actually. A jinx is, a person that brings bad luck. It's not a good thing. So having all these dogs on this farm growing up, we got used to just at a certain point, the dogs knew you can walk outside into the woods and do their business and come back. But the new dogs, we didn't do that with, because you got to train them. You got to put them on a leash, go outside. And this is in August. So it's hot. And at that point, I was working a job. I had a job painting houses. And my mom was also at that point a bus driver. And I remember this very clearly because it was August. My mom's birthday is the 19th. So it was 5 days. So we got it on the 13th. That was a Friday the 13th. And it happened, the event happened on the 19th, 5 days later. Jinx, my dad was like, "I'm just going to let this dog loose. He knows where to go." The dog did not know where to go. The dog just ran away into the woods, and there's no neighbors.
Like Joe Biden in the
in the Amazon.
In the Amazon?
Yes,
Yeah.
just pieced out. Might have been a clone. That's why he looked that way, actually. That is a very good point. I had not considered that yet.
God.
Dog clone. So the dog just bounced, and my mom had to go drive the bus now, the big yellow bus, and I had to go paint a house. And now my dad is left to deal with this. And me and him are driving around real quick before I go to work in the old pickup truck, looking on these fire breaks up in the mountain, looking for this dog, screaming the name Jinx out, and nothing. So my dad, feeling bad because this is my mom's birthday, after all, is like, I got to call the cops, and I like report a missing dog. And like town is like a mile away, and it could have gone there. It was fast for a small, like pig-shaped looking tiger dog, and the cop was dispatched, and we didn't hear anything after that. But as I was on my way out, my dad was dropping me off to go to work. A police car was coming up the hill to our house in the middle of nowhere, and this cop had a look on his face like it was just, he was distraught. And he parks in front of our house, and he just goes, "I am so sorry." And we're like, "Why?" And he opens the trunk, and there's a giant black contractor bag, and he pulls it out, and he goes, "I killed your dog." And the dog,
The cop did?
The cop killed our dog. He was dispatched to get the dog named Jinx on Friday the 13th, and he sped out, and somehow at that exact moment, the dog ran right in front of him, and he took out the dog. And that's how the dog died on my mom's birthday that we got on Friday the 13th. In my memory, I always thought it was 2 bags that he delivered the dog in. But when I consulted my parents about this, or my dad, he assured me that it was just 1 bag. But in my memory, the cop had 2 bags. But he didn't hit him that hard. Hard enough, though.
I would have attacked a cop that day.
Yeah, it was not cool.
Losing my dog was one of the hardest things that's ever happened to me.
Oh, I know, me too.
And I was thinking of that from the standpoint of he was still here and this was happening to him.
Yep.
And I mean, a lot of people, the whole fur babies thing, people say, yeah, your dogs aren't your kids. Bullshit, raise one. 16 years with mine, he was the closest thing to a kid I'll probably ever have.
Yeah.
So like imagining like, oh, you send law enforcement off to find your lost, child.
Yep.
and they end up killing it in this
Oh, it was
crazy frenzy
it
of
was
trying to
crazy.
find it. It's like, I sent you to find him, not kill him.
Unbelievable.
Now, you know, I instantly, that would have ruined cops for me forever.
Oh yeah. Well, I had problems with them before that, and the town cops didn't. And I thought we were like the skater kids in town. I wasn't the skater kid, but all my friends were the skater kids.
Yeah, that was us.
And we were the ones who were like lighting fires we shouldn't have been lighting, and like there was graffiti and loud music and all that stuff, and band practice in the, you know, in the front yards in, you know, cul-de-sacs. So
Basement shows, I miss them.
basement shows were great. But yeah, I liked that dog, but I wasn't as attached to it. So it really sucked. But I wasn't like, when I lost my one dog though, this dog Coach, this big Great Dane, I was distraught, absolutely distraught. I was there when he was born, had him for 15, 16 years. You know, doesn't seem like a long time. I guess like some dogs don't live. It's a long time for a Great Dane is what I'll say, because they usually don't live that long.
Yeah,
but 15 years.
It's not a long time for us in retrospect, but
right.
it is.
It is
you
for
know,
them.
for them, that's a life.
100%. And yeah, that was a real loss when I lost him. But yeah, that was my my one Friday the 13th story. I'm not really superstitious, but I do think it's interesting. There's some sort of psychic quality to the day where everyone is on edge. And like we started the show, the one that Surge killed, that is in part 1 on Rumble. You can hear us talk more about all that good stuff. But that was a good, fun show.
Yeah.
Despite all the darkness.
Despite the insane
and all
day
the
that's going on, and
sad stories.
Yeah.
I'm like so grateful for all the callers and everyone watching. Thank you. This is our second week at this new schedule.
coming to a close.
Yeah, it was a really fun week again. So again, for those who we missed, please call back next week. Brandon, you want to tell them where they can find you?
I am Brando Inverted on Instagram and X. Hit us up. By all means, feel free to send me a tweet, a message, what have you. If you were waiting tonight to get in line for the call, I will do my best to try to get you guys in on Monday. And as always, don't forget to stay weird.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You can find me at Shane Cashman everywhere. Let's hope nothing bad happens while we're away, but we'll see you on Monday. All right? We'll see you then. Have a good weekend.